Okay, guys, it's time to talk about the final Star Wars movie, Episode 6 Return of the Jedi. That is until a couple more weeks until we get The Force Awakens and much, much more. Hey, everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi. It is the sixth and not final film in the Star Wars saga, or you could also look at it as the third film in the original trilogy. And what do I think about Return of the Jedi? I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. If there are any ugly, yes, there are some ugly. Well, not too ugly. Just meh. Let's get into it. So, first we have this movie takes place exactly where Empire Strikes Back left off. We saw Han Solo get taken away, and now Luke, Leia, and the rest of the team are going out to save him at Jabba the Hutt. And I'm going to admit this, the beginning of Return of the Jedi, I could have cut all that stuff out. Or have done it differently. I don't know. I find a little bit of the stuff with in Jabba's palace a little cheesy and boring once in a while. I it starts to get interesting to me when Luke enters the scene, because it takes maybe 20-30 minutes into the film for Luke to actually come and help out with everything, because for some reason they send in a couple of people at a time, and when Luke finally shows up, that's where I feel the movie really starts to take place. I mean, we get it. Han has to be saved. They have to make it dangerous. They have to go back to Tatooine. I mean, these are the Hutts. Jabba the Hutt is one of the most dangerous Hutts ever. And I mean, this was actually before George Lucas even decided that Jabba the Hutt was going to look like a giant slug. Apparently, that came later on, because in the original cut of A New Hope, Jabba was supposed to be played by a man, a human. And apparently he cut that out because at the time, I don't remember the real reason, but I think it was because he didn't know how he wanted Jabba, if he wanted Jabba to really look like that or not. And then he later inserted that scene into the special editions, where that's where he turned him into a CGI slug. So that's why when you watch A New Hope nowadays, Jabba the Hutt is there now in A New Hope, but as a CGI slug instead of a puppet or something. But in this film, he turned Jabba into a puppet or a costume with two people, I think, inside, because he was having a really good relationship with the Jim Henson Company. That's how Jabba the Hutt came to be. And the look of Jabba is creepy and it's disgusting, and so it works. But it's just the overall how long it takes to free Han and all that kind of makes me wish they would speed it up. But like I said, once Luke gets into the game, that's where things really take off. They go into space, go separate ways. Luke goes to see Yoda one last time because Yoda is dying. And, the adventure begins. Well, the last adventure, or so we thought was the last adventure, begins. And yeah, this is a really nice ending to the overall franchise. But we have all our favorite characters are back: Han, Leia, Chewie, Luke, Yoda, Vader, C-3PO, R2-D2. They're all back, and they're all great in this film. The interactions between all of them, the action is all great, especially when they go on Endor. The final battle between Luke and Vader is as emotional as you can get. You have a father and a son. And I hope you've seen Empire Strikes Back, because I'm hoping to not spoil that little surprise if you don't know about it, but oh well. After the events of Empire, you want to see this resolution. You want Luke to save his father and bring him back to the light side. You want to have that hope that Luke has, that he thinks he can bring him back. And not only does he, try to bring Vader back, but he also finds out the emotional weight of, finding out that Leia is his sister, his long lost sister. And that was another surprise. That was actually a surprise I didn't know about while watching the entire trilogy for the first time. I think in the back of my head, I knew Vader was Luke's father. when I was younger, it's too hard for me to remember, but I do remember it was a surprise to me to find out that Luke and Leia were brother and sister. And then when you go back and watch A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, they, kiss on the lips, and it's a little bit awkward now looking back at those two films. But it's funny at the same time. People make jokes about it constantly. So, I mean, he didn't know at the time. He had an excuse. But he should have been like Marty McFly's mom, and been like, kissing you is like kissing my mother, or something like that, right? But the overall story of Return of the Jedi, a lot of people complain about the special editions adding some new things, and I'll admit that Return of the Jedi probably got the worst deal of it, because now they have the no, no, no at the end of Return of the Jedi now, where Vader throws down the Emperor, and that's what he yells out. And, I get it, and it doesn't bother me. That scene bothers me. Everything else doesn't bother me too much. Even the whole Hayden Christensen as the spirit ghost at the end, that doesn't bother me too much, because he's just standing there. It's not like he's talking or acting or anything. So whatever, I'll let that pass. But that Vader, no, 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 that's pretty bad. The Emperor is also really threatening. I mean, the Emperor was talked about, mentioned very briefly in A New Hope, and we see him, a brief cameo of him, I guess, in Empire Strikes Back. And now this is where the Emperor really shows who he is and how evil he is, and probably even more evil than Darth Vader, and more frightening. And he's like this guy that's manipulating these two that wants to see the father and son duel, one of them kill each other off and be his next apprentice. But Luke obviously overcomes that, and he wins triumphantly. And there's a lot of, again, emotional stuff there, especially when, Vader is dying and Luke is finally sees his father's face for the first time. That was a really great emotional scene to it. One thing that I didn't like, though, that I really annoys me, that has nothing to do with the special editions, it just annoyed me from like the beginning. The Ewoks. I am not a huge fan of the Ewoks. Now, to be fair, I'm not a huge fan of the Minions either. But I also don't like the Gungans, and I put the Minions and the Ewoks down there with the Gungans. I think they're just annoying creatures that don't shut the hell up. And they don't ruin the movie for me like Jar Jar Binks does, though. I think Jar Jar is more annoying than all the Ewoks combined. But I can see why people like the Ewoks also at the same time. And I'll give them a little bit of a pass, but whenever I see one, I just want to kick one. I don't know why. They're just they don't shut up. I also have to admit that I wasn't a huge fan of the whole reconstruction of the Death Star. I guess this is the second time the Death Star was seen in a movie. We didn't get that in Empire, but we did get the reconstruction of it in Jedi. And it felt too much of the same a little bit, I guess, that part to me. But for the most part, it doesn't bother me too much, because, like I said, this was the second time we're seeing it, so it's like, okay, fine, let them reconstruct it once. But now I'm hearing rumors about The Force Awakens, so we'll have to see how that movie plays out with another Death Star. That's the rumor right now, that there's another Death Star type ship. So until we find out for sure, I'm not going to comment on that yet. But really, I hope there's no more Death Stars after Return of the Jedi, because that will get tiring. I mean, unless it's a Death Star that takes place before, like, during episode 4 or something like that. I don't know. If it's the original Death Star or something like that, then maybe I'll let it pass. But no more Death Stars, please. No more. Be creative. Come up with something new. That would be cool. Overall, guys, I think this movie is right up there with Revenge of the Sith. Yes, I said it. I think this is just as good as Revenge of the Sith. I think Revenge of the Sith has similar faults as Return of the Jedi. There's some ups and downs. It's no Empire Strikes Back. I think Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie of all time, but this definitely is a really good. This is definitely one of the top 3 in my opinion for Star Wars, and I hope you guys check it out if you haven't, because if you haven't, you're freaking insane. The original Star Wars trilogy should always be watched. And with that being said, guys, I think I'm done. This is my last Star Wars review until The Force Awakens. And I thought I should get it out of the way because I'm so excited for The Force Awakens. I already got my tickets for December 18th. It's going to be awesome. And until next time, guys, I hope you subscribe to my video, like this video, and because there's going to be a lot more Star Wars to come. So until next time, take care.